All right, Hellbender. This is a new Shudder original that is from the da 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 the Addams Family. That's right, but 1D. Okay, 1D. You want the double D's? Go to someone else.
Somewhere else.
We don't have the double D's either.
No.
So, this is made by the Addams Family, as we said. But, okay. I'll say this first. I want to preface this review by saying that I think our opinion on this movie is going to be a tad biased because I respect the hell out of the filmmakers who did this, and I think this movie is extremely inspiring as wannabe independent filmmakers. So it's a husband, a wife, and their daughter, the filmmakers, and they made another movie called The Deeper You Dig, which I did a review on last year that I watched maybe 2 years ago. But I did a review on this channel for it, and I liked it fine. But at that time, I don't think I knew the extent of what was happening there, as where this time, looking more into it, this family did everything. They did the acting, obviously, from most of the characters. The mom and the daughter in this are actually mom and daughter, and the dad plays this other secondary character. And then The Deeper You Dig, they're the three main characters as well. They wrote, directed, composed. They do all the music.
Everything, yeah.
And not only just the score, which I think was done by the dad, but also all the music itself. Like the Hellbenders, which is a band within the movie, plays music throughout. And it's just the mom and the daughter. And the songs are super cool.
Yeah, I really love the music.
So... And then they do the editing, they did the production, they did the costumes, they did the freaking everything. They did the whole fucking thing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a few roles that you see in the screen that are, by other people. But for the most part, they did this all on their own. And so with that, you have to expect, with this low budget stuff and so many people playing so many different roles, and I'm sure this is, they're figuring it out as they go along. There's going to be things that you have to look past in order to fully appreciate what this is. Like, I do feel this is a film where the context of production is important. Like, knowing that about the film. It's like the movie The Evil Within. When you watch that movie, and you can watch it and you can be like, that was cool. I liked that. That was a pretty cool movie. It was eerie. It was weird. It was this and that. But when you get the context that some fucking tweaker that had millions of dollars made this movie and feverishly re-edited it for years in his room till he died and never finished filming, never finished the film. And then you get all this context and you go, ooh, that makes the film even more interesting, and you watch it through a different lens. And this is one of those kinds of movies that I just watched through a much different lens because I knew that going into it. And I was really impressed with everything that they were able to achieve on an insanely minimalistic budget. Yeah. You can tell. So what the film is about is there is this mother and daughter. They're living out in the woods in the middle of nowhere. And the mom doesn't want the daughter to interact with the world. She tells her that she's sick, that she has some autoimmune disease, and she can't go around anybody. And then she ends up befriending this girl in town, and she starts to learn about her lineage. The movie has to do with witches. And you know that because the opening of the film is a witch being hung. Sure. Like, it's the literal first second of the film is witches. So that's not a spoiler at all. It deals with witchcraft. Yeah. And so the negatives of the movie, right, is going to be like some of the visual effects and whatnot are shoddy and they look off, right? But to be expected.
Yeah,
and it's not something that I find to be a negative because I just look at it and go, it's what I expected.
No, and it doesn't detract from the film at all because I think that this film had a really cool style. I really love the performances given. I thought that they were really just great. I was really impressed from the family.
Yes.
Yeah, from the mother and the daughter, the leads, they did a great job. I really liked the setting that it takes place in. I thought it was really beautiful because it is basically in the woods for most of the film. And then, like we said earlier, the music was incredible.
Yeah, I love the music.
It fit so well. And like there are maybe a couple moments with the visual effects that are a little off, but then there's others that look really cool and psychedelic and trippy.
Yes.
And just, I was really into it. I really enjoyed this film from start to finish, and I felt like it was the perfect length too. Like we got through this whole story, and the pacing was really good for me. And I liked the kind of message that it was, or like the discussion it was having on motherhood as well, and on life, I guess. But I don't know. I just think that the visual effects are like the ones that are a little off are so minor, and that it almost feels like, I don't know. I don't know why anybody would have a problem with the film based on just that, especially knowing how low budget it was and that it's this like family project. Because I think they did a great job. So.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I grew up in a family like this that was making independent film
Super
and
cool.
whatnot. But yeah, I mean, as you were saying, the film is definitely packed with metaphors if you want to look for them. But this is definitely a film for a specific audience, right? Like, this is not something that you're going to show to anybody and they're going to be into. They've got to appreciate independent filmmaking first and foremost. Like, you've got to be able to accept that the film is the quality that it is. Even though we as independent junkies that consume all sorts of low budget media, there's a lot of people who aren't used to that. Like, if I showed this to my father, he would be like, what is this trash?
Well, and it also has an artsy quality to it as well that not everybody likes in film. There's some surreal moments that I really love seeing in horror in general, but that's not for everyone. So yeah, along with the independent quality, I think it's also the style of the film itself that might throw people, like the generic audience, I guess, off from it.
Yeah.
But they're wrong.
Yeah, I think that if they had like let's say like they got in a proper film crew and they got some other actors to take some other roles to really punch things up, because I feel like anyone who wasn't a family member, their performances were noticeable, like that they were acting. Like the friend, when she like confronts her at the place and she's like freaks out on her and it's just like, fuck off.
But like
it didn't work. So what I'm trying to say is that like if you punched this up with a more experienced film crew and a little bit bigger, better of a budget, and you had a little better actors around them, but you kept everything else, the story, all that the same, you would basically have like an A24 film. Like it has that kind of artsy, atmospheric, and metaphorical kind of feeling to it throughout, and then the music too. I keep hitting on that because I love that aspect of it. I love that they did all the music, not only the score, but the actual music within the film of the band that her mom and her have called the Hellbenders. In it, I really liked the songs a lot. Like I would listen to them.
Yeah, me too.
For sure. Yeah. So I would hope that this has a soundtrack
available on Spotify.
Or I'll fucking buy the soundtrack. Support the film. Oh
yeah, of course. Yeah, it was cool. Their voices are just they're great together, and the music was really eerie, and I don't know. Just
and the lyrics too, right?
The lyrics were super cool. The lyrics
had like meaning to the film.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's definitely, like we said, like you were saying in the beginning, it's really inspirational to see people doing this, and even with having their friends or other people who maybe aren't as experienced actors. Their performances were so great, and they carried the entire film. That even if you can kind of tell that this one person isn't really acting as much or isn't as comfortable with it. It almost doesn't matter, and that's kind of the thing when you have a really great actor going with some. I mean, like, you know, acting is about a give and a take, but you can help carry a scene for somebody who's not as, because it's, you know, you're feeding off of each other. So I feel like that the fact that they had, you know, such talent that even with these other maybe more amateur actors, it still felt like a I don't want to say realistic because it was kind of surreal, but it didn't like detract from the scene. Although I agree with you, if they you know had other more experienced actors in there, it would have definitely, you know, bumped it up a bit. But for what it is, I think it's just really wonderful.
This reminds me of a movie like Pie Wacket. I know you probably haven't seen that movie, but it has kind of a similar thing going on, but Pie Wacket just had more of a budget and, you know, probably more of a crew. I think this probably had 5 people working on it, you know, at any given time, and it was the actors as well as everybody. So, and we even looked up their last film, The Deeper You Dig, because we were like, what kind of camera did they use? Because this is clearly pretty low budget. And the camera they used, I found online for like $300. Like, and that shit's great. Like, I love that, right? Like, as much as I love watching Star Wars or, you know, some, you know, Doctor Strange, like when it comes out, or the new Batman when it comes out here in a week, or, you know, any MCU film or any of that shit. I love watching that stuff. It's very exciting. I love going to it, love talking to my friends about it after. But rarely do I get inspired to want to make a film because it feels so out of my reach. It's like, it's so beyond anything I could comprehend as something I could ever do. It's like $200 million movie with 3,000 moving parts and, you know, this studio's behind it and everyone's looking at. It's like, that's just like, I'm so small scale in my head and where I'm at in my life that I watch those kinds of things and I feel no inspiration for making a film. But then you watch this small little film, and I'm beyond inspired. I'm like, I'm on my phone looking up cameras, looking up filming equipment, even though we've done that a million times. I have tons of money saved up to buy fucking equipment. I just can't figure out what equipment to buy. I love, you know, it's like we were just saying, we've now watched, I feel like 3 films in the last month that have inspired the shit out of us to make film. You know, Shepherd, Alone with You, and this one. They're all super independent. Shepherd not as much, but definitely Alone with You and definitely this. Especially this one. If any of these inspired me the most, it'd be this one.
Yeah, for sure.
Because, you know, it also has got that family thing, right? Like, I think about making this with my daughters.
Yeah, absolutely. Getting everybody involved in the process and being able to share that with your family it's just wonderful, and it's super cool that they were able to do it.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's you know, to the filmmakers out there, it's very inspiring to people like us, and keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah,
I think
I'd love to see more.
They're doing fantastic, and I just hope they're making. They sold this one to Shudder.
Yeah.
And
which is great.
As an exclusive, and The Deeper You Dig was on Shudder and Amazon Prime right now. So I hope they're getting enough money to keep making film and only doing that, because that's the dream.
Oh yeah.
Like, if you're making enough money to pay the bills and make another film, you're living my dream.
Yeah, absolutely. And
this was cool. See, I think what needs to be said here is that if this film sucked, I wouldn't be biased on it. I would be sitting here being like, yeah, I mean, it's cool that you guys made a movie as a family, but this shit wasn't for me. So anybody who's watching this thinking like, well, he's just liking the movie because it inspired him. Absolutely not. I would not be inspired by a shitty movie. I would be less inspired. I'd be like, well, look what happens when you try to make a movie without any experience or any money.
Because it's so successful.
Yeah.
They're very successful in telling the story.
They're successful at what they're going for and with what they have to use. See, people don't like respect and acknowledge the limitations and turning them into opportunities. Right? And that's what they did here. They have so many hurdles and obstacles, right? You go to see a Marvel movie, they have no fucking obstacles.
Right.
Like the director says, I want to have the entire world be able to flip onto itself, and I want cars to be driving over them, and I want them to be ripping portals over here, and this and that. They can go fucking wild.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, got it, yours, done. All the best equipment is at your disposal. Every fucking biggest name and actor and everything's at your... Okay. So with that, you have little excuse. With this, though, your back's against the wall. And that's what I love. This is what inspires me about these movies. This is why I like and why I would probably stick to independent filmmaking if I ever fucking get off my ass and actually do it, is I like the limitations. I like the challenge. I like coming up with clever ideas, because when I watch movies like this, I'm like, that's cool. They did that because they don't have the ability to do this, but it conveys the same message and it makes the audience fill in the blank in their head and they didn't even realize that it had happened. Yeah. Right? Like just flashing lights on the screen of different colors to show that the cops are there because you can't afford cop cars. You know, just showing the lights. And then it's like, it adds this production value, like there's cops, and then you put a strobe light down, and it's like, oh, there's a helicopter, and then you put this sound of a helicopter.
Right, yeah.
And you just come up with these little creative ways. That's nothing creative there. That's just trick. Yeah. But what I'm saying is you can extrapolate upon that, and you can add all sorts of different things in there to fake things out, to make the audience, and that's the mastery of independent filmmaking. Is that the audience, unless there's somebody like me who's specifically looking for those kinds of things, if you can successfully make the audience not even notice that they've not seen anything but thought they saw something that adds that production value to it, that's awesome stuff. And I think this film does...
Being a magician.
Yeah, I think this film does that very well in a lot of ways. And I'm really impressed with what they were able to achieve here.
I agree. This is great. 2 thumbs up. Definitely recommend.
Definitely recommend.
Watch it.
Definitely for people who are into this kind of stuff. If you're somebody that's like, I only like high budget, highbrow, freaking perfectly acted, no. You have to have a respect for independent filming. I say that in every one of these reviews, but it's very important because I know the people out there like that, and they will hate this shit, and then they'll come for me. Come for me. Come for you. I can fucking. All right, guys. Let us know. It's on Shudder. Bye.